we'll still go through it as we typically do, and it's adoption of minutes as we normally do. We want to make sure that we do that. So we'll call this meeting to order. And let's start today with having some introductions. We got new people, new faces in the room. So we'll start down at the end, particularly with our commissioners. So Ted, you want to get started?
I'm Ted Duckworth.
Michael Burnham. Jonathan Lee.
Newbie, Carrie Johnson.
All right. Tony Yarber.
Wayne O'Neill.
Pete Perry.
All right. Thank y'all for being here. And I think you'll find that this group really engages in the work, and work you've been seeing is primarily because of the work that's been done by the folks who are in this room. So we do what we need to do to get it done and to get stuff pushed out on behalf of folks who sent us here. So again, thank y'all for committing to serve. Has everybody had an opportunity to read over the minutes? Typically they're emailed, and I don't know if
They have not been this time, I don't know.
Okay.
At least I didn't see them.
They have not.
Okay. So give y'all an opportunity to read through the minutes.
This also gives me an opportunity to tell you one of my excuses for them not going out to you. You knew that Aaron was with us in the past, came and took down all our important information here that we discussed. She is no longer with us, hasn't been now. She's moved to Nashville back in the end of, or first part of June, I should say. But it is now in very capable hands of Cynthia Buchanan Watkins, sitting right next to me, who most of you know. She's been with me for, how long have you been there?
13 years.
13 years.
Been that
long?
We're sorry.
Is that just the second time?
13 years and 4 months.
Okay.
Dwayne, that's not good.
Wow. Okay.
The only, I don't know if it's really a revision, but just something to mention that Commissioner Perry pointed out to me, which is true. The one thing that I do not see in the minutes is that we did talk about continuing our meetings in the Hood building.
Okay.
And the Porter building. Instead of this one, it's not in there, but we got back over here somehow anyway this time. But I know it's more convenient for anybody that comes to be in a larger room, so we might want to try and look at that again sometime.
Okay. All right.
Actually, I think the mayor left at the time we made that.
Yeah.
And Lacey was not here, so maybe that didn't just transfer over as
Sure.
with
So
the staff side of it.
So you want to, anybody want to make a motion to amend the minutes to reflect that?
I don't care if we amend it or if we
Or
just make
just
another
make
motion this
another.
meeting to do it
Okay,
from
all right.
now on, since we've already,
Yeah.
I mean,
All right.
we did discuss it the last one, but just,
Right.
maybe we'll just move it in the future.
Okay. Sounds fine to me. All right, I assume everybody's read. All hearts and minds are satisfied. Take a motion to accept the minutes.
So move.
All right, been moved.
Second.
Properly second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, so at this point, let's go on. Now we'll turn it over to IMS.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
A little amount of housekeeping if I can before we get into business. We've got 2 new members, I understand. We've got 2 other new members
Yes.
who are not here. For the matter of putting in the minutes and kind of cleaning it up for the future, since those are taking other members' places whose times had expired, it would be good if we put in the minutes what terms they have, since both of them have staggered terms, which one of them has whatever it is, 3 years left, and which one has 4 years, or whatever that boils down to.
Okay.
just to get in the minute. And if you don't know right offhand,
Yeah, I don't know
We
right
need
now,
to-
but I'll find out.
we need to get it put in there so that,
I got it. It makes perfect sense.
and I think we also, Mr. Chairman, need to elect a new secretary, or designate somebody to be a secretary, because our secretary is now
Is not on the commissioner's law, right?
just housekeeping matters, sir.
Sounds good. All right, so, I'm gonna find out in a minute about the terms of the
Yep.
folks that I put on.
And
And then,
if we just get it incorporated in the minutes after the meeting's over, I think it'll be fine. Just
okay. All right, and then, we'll move to have a nomination for,
I nominate
court.
Jonathan Lee.
All right, second. All right.
Any discussion?
I move to close the nomination.
Your pay doubles with the title.
Nomination's been closed. All in favor of Jonathan Lee? Aye. All right, unanimous.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
All right. Yeah, baptized by fire. All right, so at this time, we'll move to staff or IMS, who will be presenting at this time. Talk about, I think the first item is revenue.
Good evening. Today we're going to kind of go through pretty much what we've been working on the past couple of months. We haven't met, but hopefully this will provide an update of some of the progress to date of what Public Works Department and our program managers have been doing with the 1% sales tax. And what you have here is a breakdown as relates to how the different projects are divided up. In revenues, as of August 20th of this year, we have collected $33,023,423.49. And we have obligated $30,475,202.57, which leaves us a contingency amount in our revenue of $2,548,220.92. As it relates to our drainage projects, we put in the year one plan 14 drainage projects. And if you remember, back at the earlier part of this year, we had a very intense discussion about how we would prioritize those drainage projects as it relates to the amount of funding that we had. And so we came up with these 5 projects right here that the commission actually approved and appropriated money to spend. So at this time, we have Stantec has Eubanks Creek, and we're currently finishing up the execution of those contracts. SOL has Eubanks Creek Tributary number 6. They're a local consulting company. They have their contract executed, and they have been issued a notice to proceed. Town Creek Tributary 4 is Stewart Engineering. They have submitted their contracts for review to legal. And legal is at this time reviewing that contract to make sure it is legally sufficient. Belhaven Creek, both of these 2 projects were combined. Southern Consultants is the design consultant. They have been issued a notice to proceed and their contract has been executed.
Charles,
Yes, sir.
you're saying that those 5 projects are ones that, besides just the design work, we've approved the construction?
Yes, sir.
spending.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what I thought I remembered.
Brook Hollow Circle has started. The bidding has not started. I mean, the construction has not started. The design work has started. We had one community meeting, and as it relates to the residents where we would need temporary construction easements, and we've gotten 4, and we need 8 more. And so we have asked a right-of-way agent who used to work for the city to come on board and help us, assist us with acquiring those other 8. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll have all that ready and hopefully have it ready to advertise maybe November, December this year. The Lynch Creek Drainage Project was a project that we had appropriated some money in year one, and we got funding from MEMA, and we had allocated $130,000, I believe, for year one to help with the match. And we needed some additional money to help move that project forward, and it started. But basically, we added an additional $500,000 to that project to get it going.
Have we voted to remove that $500,000?
No, sir.
So
We would,
we approved $130,000 for design. But, so that's been,
but we'll need to do a motion today to do that.
how much is the FEMA grant?
The FEMA grant is the total grant was 1.9, and the bids came in at 2.5, and the match was,
But our original estimate was $600,000, and it's a $2 million project.
well, actually, the federal share, when originally applied for the project, it came in at 2.2. And the city's match for that was, it was a 75-25 match. And the non-federal share was like 562,147. The bids came in at $2,575,980. So MEMA and FEMA basically said we'll up the coverage, and so they added an additional $327,993. But the city had to increase their share also too for the match. So the total match for the city that was required was $643,995 to meet the total construction bid, which was once again $2,575,980.
Just to follow up on Pete's question though, so that it came in at what, $200 and some thousand over?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well,
And
in our projects that we've approved, where was Lynch Street included in it to begin with?
should be, it was,
I don't see it listed under drainage.
it should be in the overall, and it was called St. Charles Avenue to Robinson Road, same thing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's St. Charles Avenue to Robinson Road is what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. And the, because of the overage of the construction, we were very time sensitive trying to get this project moving. And so that's why we had the allocation like that. Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry, I know I'm a Latter-day Saint, but I'm just curious. What is the total that's obligated of what's been done under drainage so far? What are we projecting will be the total price tag to complete what you already got there?
You talking about for this specific
For
project?
for all of the drainage projects that you got listed here? Do you know off the top of your head?
Let's see. You got that,
And if it's in here, I'll.
What we did last meeting in April to move those 5 projects to construction was about $5.5 million. And then we'd also included in the original thing a year ago about $2 million for design work. And so $2 million for design work and 5.5, and whatever Brook Hollow was for construction, I forgot what.
I think it was 530,000.
So 5.5, 2.5, so about $8 million total. And that's some rough numbers.
Sounds pretty close.
And does just out of just personal curiosity, will this solve the total problem at Brookwood Place, or is it being done in phases? I know that
No,
one's pretty.
this project will be done in one phase.
Okay.
It's roughly about 600 linear feet, maybe 800 linear feet of a project. And so, but it encompasses about 13 properties as it relates to easements.
With that real bad erosion, is that what we're talking
Yes.
about? In the back of the neighborhood?
Yes. And it is also going to repair the box culvert because there's only one
Yeah,
egress going in.
I remember that.
So,
In our first year, when we did all the 13 or 14 design projects, that was the one that we included money for construction on.
Yeah, it was a mess.
And then we
That's 4
had
years ago.
another dozen that we had design work on, and then these 5 that we just did with.
Yep.
Okay. So, we wanted to present to the commission the remaining projects as it relates to drainage. And let you kind of discuss how we need to prioritize the remaining projects. Because as of right now, we do have allocation for design, but not for construction. But we kind of wanted to put it before you how we have prioritized that if we were to move forward today, these are the projects that we felt that we needed to start first. Now, with one particular emphasis is that we did approve Parkway Drive Avenue D, which is in Grove Park, which is concrete tributary number 4. But we were able to get some watershed funds to cover Grove Park and 2 other projects. And we're going to make a request later in the project as it relates to this of using the money that we allocated for design to maybe use that for construction of that project and 2 other projects that are tied with it. Do some emergency watershed protection from the NRCS. For bridges, the Hanging Moss Bridge was constructed this year, replaced and constructed this year. And so it is now back open. We're in the process of closing that project out. It did come in under budget. The Country Club Drive and Main Street, those design contracts are in legal for review and should be getting ready to get processed for execution. The Ready Mix Street.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Why do you have Country Club and Maze together? Is it just because they're in the same phase?
Well, I guess we could isolate it, but they're 2 separate projects.
So projects with both same.
Okay, I was just wondering if it was
They're the
because
same
they're
stage.
Same stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
That's what I'm guessing.
All right.
yeah. For the Ready Mix Street Bridge, we started construction about close to 40 days ago. Ran into a couple of utility issues as it relates to some water lines that were not on some existing plans that we have. I think we got all of that resolved. We're hoping to have that bridge back open late October, early November.
Okay. So did y'all have to relocate lines or what?
We possibly, I don't know, by the end of this week, we might have to do a small change order because on the west side of the bridge, where we were trying to drive a pile, is where the 16-inch water line that was not shown on the plans sitting right there. And so we're probably going to end up having to do a modified approach slab on that side and then look at moving that pile over. So it's probably, when I talked to the contractor, he was thinking it's probably going to be somewhere between $3,500 and maybe $5,000.
So where would that money come
Sorry,
from?
I'm not
We
sure.
actually have, that project came in under, so we have enough
Okay.
funds to cover it.
Okay. All right.
This is underground water line on the west side, 16 inches.
Yes, it's actually, there is a 24-inch that runs on the east side that is shown on the plans, and just don't know where that 16-inch came from.
Hope you know where it goes.
We know where it goes.
Is it even carrying water?
It's carrying water
Okay.
because they hit it, and
Oh.
we knocked Ready Mix.
So we know.
We know. All right.
But that's, this was an interesting project because we had several different utility issues as it relates to the city's fiber, Verizon. All of these were actually lined up under this bridge, and so
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
process. The Alderwood Boulevard Bridge, we were initially thought that we were going to be able to do this in-house, and we might come to the commission and ask for the approval to use a consultant to get this done.
Why?
We got a lot going on.
That's a good answer.
We do. I mean, at that time, we thought, but we've lost some people.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be kind of challenging. But just want to put that before. The Robinson Road Bridge, as you know, on March 10th, we had a very large rainfall event that came through the city and basically washed the south side of the Robinson Road Bridge out. And so we were actually had allocated some money for design on this particular bridge. And we were able to talk with FHWA and MDOT, and we were able to secure some emergency funds from FHWA. But the city has to put those funds up first and then do a reimbursement and go through the LPA process and MDOT. So we awarded a design contract to Volker, a local structural engineering company, and they have started the design, and we will probably within the next couple of weeks do a PS&E and a field review with MDOT, because we still have to go through that process. But at the end of the slides, we will go ahead and ask the commission to allow us to move $1 million in construction, because if we're able to cross these hurdles, we would like to go ahead and advertise that bridge this year to get it back open.
That it would be refunded,
Yes, sir.
be $1 million to spend, but then it comes back.
Well, it'll be an 80-20. 80-20.
And Mayor, forgive me, again, this is just being new. How is this being operationalized? I mean, is there someone internally that are managing all of these projects, or is that being farmed out, or how does that work? Is it isolated as 1% money separate from regular projects?
Yeah. You're talking to me.
Okay.
I will carry that question a step further. It's isolated, I know it's front end, but if we spend $1 million for whatever that was with this money that we advanced on the Tiger grant that gets refunded, does it go back in the 1%?
That's a good question.
Has to, because the match money's coming out of the 1%.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the match money, but the match money is spent, as I understand it. But this will be advance money that's refunded. When it's refunded, I agree with you. It has to, but it's.
We'll set up 2 accounts.
Uh-huh.
We actually had a discussion with the finance department last week. In all of these projects that is 1% funded and the city has an opportunity to get reimbursed, we'll set up a revenue account. Let's actually set up an actual spending account and then a revenue account. One account would be is that, let's just say that, for instance, we get $10 million, okay? And that $10 million allows to be spent as it relates to the construction of any project, okay? Then that money will go into this account. It will not go back into the account as it relates to the 1%, because the match is what the city's putting up in the 1%. You follow what I'm saying? We don't want to commingle those funds, because it's an accounting error as it relates to putting it all in one pot and then coming back and trying to determine what's 80% and what's 20%. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Why wouldn't you just reimburse the 1% account?
Well, I'll go back to them, but the way that they discussed or broke it down to me was they would prefer that if the city is going to get reimbursed from an accounting perspective, okay, the way
I tell you what, because I don't even think you should be having to explain
Yeah,
this. We'll get Michelle here
okay.
next meeting so she can, because just a third grade math teacher, that doesn't make sense to me.
I can understand it not going back into big accounts. You got just got $33 million in, because it might look like
I get
we
it.
got more, but it ought to go over here in another account that says this is 1%.
Yes.
Refunded, that's still
Right.
1% money.
It will,
because it's actually just
it
being
will
loaned
still
over
be
there.
1% money, but from an accounting perspective, it will show the dividing line between what is actually coming back and what's actually the city spent as it relates to the match.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I get it.
So if I pull a transactional detail report and I want to see exactly what we're being reimbursed for at 80%, count number 8.
Okay.
If I want you tell me what we spent as it relates to the match, the count B.
Count, all right.
It's all still going in the same fund.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right, I got it. He's a newbie and I'm slow, but we'll get it together sooner or later. I
Well,
got
they
it.
beat me up over it, so. 'Cause that's how
But I still think I want to get
Yeah,
Michelle
that's fine.
explain
It sounds
that.
like like you're describing for more or less what's a journal entry, but it's, to answer your question, it's still going back to the account.
It's still going back to
Right.
It just allows them to trace it better.
Let me just plug for this Robinson Road Bridge. Yeah, we're starting to see some, uptick in investment happening over there. Taco Bell is being built and some other things, and so it's primarily an artery to economic development over there. And when people can't go straight through, they don't even come. So there's a grocery store there that just opened up. The Taco Bell just opened up. Lines wrapped around the corner at the Little Caesar. There's a Domino's there. It's just a bunch of little things that are starting to kind of pop off in that area. So as soon as we can kind of make that happen, the better. Because I think that gives us a chance to capture that 1% revenue there, because folks are spending money in the commercial area.
Except none of those do get 1% off of the sales tax.
Well,
Groceries and Taco Bell, but that's not a reason not to do it, just, where, orient just where on Robinson Road this bridge is. I've seen where it's washed out on the picture. but-
Robinson Road Extension. All right, you familiar? All right, come.
Between Raymond and McDowell.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know what general area it was.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Williams.
For the water line replacements, Eastover Drive, we started construction about 2 months ago. We're starting to get toward the near end of that project. We're starting to do some lateral crossings. And if everything goes well, we should be completed in October 2016. And as it relates to the other 3 water line projects, all of these companies, Woodell Drive is with Civil Tech. They have submitted all of their information. Their contract has been executed and they have been given a notice to proceed. The other 2 companies, Q Solutions and Infinity with Hagen Moss, their contracts are being reviewed by legal.
Can I just ask a general question? Just kind of being visual. These projects that we approved in April of 2015 and just now getting contracts going to legal, talking about a year and a half to get an engineer under contract. What's the process that it takes to get a water line engineer or any of these others underway? I mean, I know it takes a while for the engineer to get the work done after that. If I'm not mistaken, this was April of 2015? Okay. Excuse me, that's the mayor's question.
You fine.
This is a program, I mean, IMS is a program.
I was gonna say, part of, I believe what happened is some of the delay, it took us a while to actually get a program manager on board for all of the projects overarching. And now that we have it, that's why you're starting to see them roll out faster.
Goes back to you not want to do this afterwards bridge anymore.
Can you speak to the, on the Eastover Drive water line, there's an article in the paper the other day about compaction and what was this, what was that? I mean, as a commission member, I had people asking me about it, but I didn't really know what to say. I said, well, I didn't read we didn't read the specs of the of what was bid. So it's kind of hard to respond as to whether that was accurate, what was reported in the paper or not.
Yeah, it was not accurate. There was some kind of back and forth with the engineer that we had selected to oversee that project, which is Southern Consultants. They've been doing this work for a very long time. The engineer that was cited in the paper, not even a licensed engineer in the state of Mississippi.
The one that was giving his opinion?
Correct. And
Well,
so-
what do the specs call for?
Well, they're actually doing the backfill the way that it's supposed to be with the native soil, and that's really
Do the
what we
specs
said.
call for native soil, or do the specs call for replacing the field?
If I'm not
I mean,
mistaken.
that to me is the end question, is what did the people bid on?
It calls for both, but it's based on
The
whether the
location.
field is needed. Now, in this case, we originally wanted to put that water line in the actual ditch flow line on Eastover, on the south side. We came into a lot of conflicts with AT&T, who did not send out the correct personnel to market back when Southern Consulting was originally designed.
That was in December.
That's right. And so when we did a 811 call back before the contractor was to get started, we noticed that there were a number of AT&T crossings within the actual flow line of where we were going to put the ditch. So we had a meeting here with AT&T and discussed how we could mitigate the issue. And so they came out and did some potholing. And so instead of moving forward with a very expensive change order and trying to put it within the street, we looked at the existing location where the water line was and decided that we could follow that path. Now, along some of the path is pretty adjacent to the street, about 2-3 feet. And so that's where the new water line is. And they were using backfill material in those areas that were close to the street. But in areas where we were allowed to get off of the street, 8 to 10 feet off, then we did use native soil. And it's not uncommon when you use ductile iron.
Let me say two things. One, I don't care if that engineer is licensed in Mississippi or not. I got my engineering background in education, and I was a contractor. I can tell whether it's being compacted or not, and I don't have to be a licensed engineer in Mississippi to be able to know that. So I don't care whether he's licensed or not. I also, from a contractor background, I'd say, what did I have to bid on in the specs? What did the engineer write in the specs? And that's what ought to be the controlling feature. And that's a simple question to get answered, no matter if the guy that's being quoted is an engineer licensed in Mississippi or not. I will tell you, Charles, I drove by it because I got calls about it too. And there's a lot of places where that water line is within 2 feet of the street or 3 feet of the street, and then you use native fill, backfill, I can look at it and see it. So I mean, it's not like they're using slick fill next to the street, because they're not. Not throughout the whole thing, at least the area I look at, it's not. And I don't care, I just want to know what the specs call for. What did the engineer write in the specs? And did the contractor provide what the specs call for?
Well, really,
And that's
the
a simple
accountability, yeah, and the accountability goes to the contractor. I mean, y'all put out the spec, you hired the engineer, put out the spec. So is he cutting corners, and is somebody watching them so they know they're not cutting corners? Is it, we don't want to pay for this thing and go, well, they didn't do it exactly the way they had to. Because we all know contractors don't try to.
No, we don't all know contractors do that.
We know some will.
But if the specs call for native fill, the contractor's fine. Maybe the engineer might have screwed up, I don't know, I can't say that, I'm not about to say that. But if he's doing what the specs call for, the contractor's not cutting corners, and he ought to be,
Right.
redeemed too. I mean, it's one side or the other. Either the specs call for native fill, or the specs call for select backfill.
Well, my concern when people call me is being a commission member and knowing that some key staff people are not here anymore, and knowing that there's a program manager, but who's watching the program manager that I assume is supposed to be watching the contractor to build it to the spec. So I was interested in bringing that up today, just so we can make sure, as commission members, that we're able to address that. Because really, when it comes down to the 1% money's paying for the project, and I assume the city's in the same role we are, you want it done the way it's spec. and if the guy's not doing his job, or the engineer's not making the contractor do their job, we don't want to pay for it, or at least until it's right. So, you know, that's a high-profile project, it's right next to the road.
And you get an awful lot of different answers. Somebody says, well, we're fixing to dig it up and put in other backfill. I mean, is that really what's fixing to happen? I can't believe
Well,
it.
they've gotten closer to in the roadway, they clearly are compacting it. Now, since that, I don't know if it's coincidental the article came out, but, I mean, there's piles of limestone and other layers of mix that's all appears to be going in there. Anyway, so again, the concern is it being done the way it was spec'd and the way the contractor bid it? That's really the first question, is that been done? So, Charles,
Well,
I'm looking at you, but I'm not sure who to look at.
We could
'Cause I don't know
not,
who's responsible.
well,
Program manager, right?
Is that IMS?
Can we get them to give us a response to the question? Are they here?
I asked the question after the town hall meeting to two IMS people who told me, we're not overseeing that project.
No, the design consultant has the resident inspector on site, but we do periodic inspection, like at least, weekly, we'll drive by and see what's going on, but I guess when you're there, you will always see, what they're, put it in, I see, material there, like they're all in fill, I see limestone and everything. Initially, when they started, they weren't in limestone, but they were a little bit further off from the edge of pavement when they started on the east end. So,
There's a big pile of fill now at the corner of Ridgewood and Eastover, which has been finished for 3 months. The pile of fill showed up there last week. I don't know why I didn't bother to ask them about it, but I thought it was kind
Well,
of
in the
curious.
last week, they dug out in Ridgewood Road closer,
To the-
that would be the east side of Ridgewood Road, just south of East
Well, that might be why
Drive.
the
I don't know
field's
what,
like-
I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're not crossing Ridgewood Road right now with the water line, are
sometimes,
no, they had to do tie-ins across Eastover.
they? Yeah. Are they, it looks like they're doing something going up the hill to the R&D Center entrance. Does that pipe go up
Yeah,
that
they
way?
don't bore that.
Well, it's, I guess going back to the same question, is what was spec'd and is it getting done the way it's spec'd?
Who's the designer on that project?
So,
And the contractor is,
utility constructors.
Does that project go from the west side of Ridgewood? Where does it stop on the east end?
It was, yeah,
It's in the street.
It's in the street.
It's gonna
There was
tie
some talk at one time there might be money left over, it might continue further, I just didn't know what that was done.
This one's gonna tie in the street, and I think they've done some preliminary work to start that process in the street. So if you go down the north-south side, there's a little gravel spot right by the red line. That's the tie,
That's the time.
Is that where the tie-in for phase 2?
That's
going
tie-in,
east?
no, that's tie-in for phase 1.
But when it goes, I think we talked about in year 2 or 3, whatever we're talking about now, I mean, just since that water line that's being replaced has been under construction, there've probably been 3 breaks within a few hundred yards east of Ridgewood Road on Eastover Drive. And that part was phase 2, isn't that right?
I think that's, yes.
So I don't think we allocated the
We-
savings in
we-
phase 1.
But you're just saying right now it goes from the tie-in in the middle of Ridgewood.
Back towards the residence inn over there.
so who's approving the payment applications from Southern Consultants? I mean, I guess one of the designers is approving payment applications. They send them to you and somebody in your office sends a check.
Yes.
Right? Maybe we ought to check with whoever that engineer with Southern Consultants and see what they're approving. Because they have to approve any payment application that utility construction is doing.
How hard would it be to get a copy of the specs?
Get into it.
Okay, I mean, it seems like they ought to be on files right here somewhere. I'm assuming y'all have looked it up. What do the specs call for, if you can tell me offhand?
It calls for both select backfield.
Where does it, how does it define where?
Well, you have to go back to originally what we planned to do, was to put it
Go on the
in
ditch
the full line. But we changed that.
So the ditch
We
is
also-
further south, Charles?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ditch is about 15, 20 feet off the edge of the road, isn't it?
So you're saying it's, and I'm not talking about the spec necessarily, but you're saying the closer it is to the existing road, backfill material is less critical, or you can use whatever they took out?
No, it's farther.
It's more,
The
the
other way around.
closer you are to the road, the more
But-
critical.
More critical, okay.
I know it calls for when you get the street crossing, like where you turn into IHL there, that it calls, and they do have what appears to be slag and crushed gravel or something at the street crossing.
That's right.
But you're saying it's really not defined in the specs then, since it moved closer to the road.
But not all of it. We started at Bridgewood and worked ourselves up, and then when we came up the hill, coming back west, is when we started getting closer to the road. And so, I can't think of the name of that street.
I know basically what you're talking about, that again from the.
But yeah, but
the second street up the road.
right. But we used ductile iron. We used it is wrapped. We used a zinc coating that will provide a little bit more strength to it, and you know, I think it's fine.
Even if you're using select fill, aren't you supposed to compact it? I'm not, even if you're using native fill, aren't you supposed to
But
compact it?
you, to a certain degree, but when you're talking about not actually compacting on top, you would want the bottom to be secured because that's where you're laying it. But when you're talking about actual compaction on the top and any type of vibration, you don't want anything that's going to affect that pipe. So you want to make sure that you got depth, coverage.
What do you do if you're putting that pipe underneath the road?
It has to be,
has to be compacted,
four to 6 feet deep, right, in certain areas.
And it has to
And
be
then it has to
compacted.
be, right.
So you're gonna compact it there with the vibration?
The bedding.
Some, to a certain degree, but like, once again, you have to be careful where you're at, in particular on the joints, because you don't want to, you don't want that to become disjointed. So that's why you want to make sure you got enough cover on top of the pipe. So if you do come in and do any type of vibratory compaction, that the 2 to 3 feet at the top is what gets tight. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't affect the integrity of the pipe or the joints.
One other question, well, it may not be the only question, but another question I have is what is the condition they have to put the road back to? I think I called one of you guys, Shree, maybe, IMS, about what condition they have to put the road back? We're obviously not resurfacing the whole street. Not with that amount of money.
No,
I
we
assume they have
did
to
talk
patch
about
back
it.
the
We are
road
going to
at
patch
least-
it back. Yes, it will be patched back.
At least to the pre-existing condition.
What you're going to know is there's a patch there.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah,
but I'm
but,
just-
no, it won't, I mean like a hump or something like that. No.
It's like the utility cut 6 or 8 months from now, they're going to compact it back. I mean, the contractor doesn't do that patching, does he?
Yes, that's in
The contractor
the
does?
Yes.
Okay. They didn't do that. One of them. He got patched. I mean, I'm not complaining.
So do we want to see a copy of the contract of the spec?
That could be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, can we, I mean, how do we ask for that, Dwayne? Do we put it in the minutes? Do we just ask for it now?
Yeah, we'll do that and make sure that the minutes reflect it.
I think we'd like to see a copy of the contract and a copy of the payout from SO, what's the name of the engineer?
Southern
I'm sorry, I can't remember. There's a lot of engineers and a lot of acronyms for them too, so I can't keep them all straight.
And utility contracts with construction.
Well, the payout would reveal if utility contractors have done the work correctly, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean,
The payout will show the
What the
line
project-
itemized.
Yeah.
So,
and
SOL
what
says.
they're charged.
Right.
Not necessarily SOL sub, excuse me.
Well,
And,
that's what I was trying to
and
do.
while we're asking for things, Mayor, and you guys may already have it, but I would like a copy of the accounting, what was taken in last year, what's been spent, what's been obligated, so that we can kind of have an internal tally.
Jonathan, we have had a spreadsheet, and I'm sorry, I didn't grab my file when I ran out of the office.
yeah.
I want to discuss that in a whole lot of detail when we get on to the rest of
We do.
this too.
Yes,
But we do
sir.
have a
Okay.
spreadsheet that tracks it with a variance. and
But I'd like to see
what's
more
in there.
detail in that spreadsheet, so what Jonathan was just asking for. I agree with Jonathan overall.
All right, y'all ready?
Yep.
The Riverside Drive design, phase 1 was approved by council. Wagner Engineering is the consultant, and we're waiting to get their contract.
Just a real quick question. There are you working? Is that okay? I mean, they're out there putting marks and flags down, so
That's really up to them.
which is, okay, it's up to them, but so, when I saw them here, I was waiting for approved contract, I was just curious. So, they've been out there sticking flags in the ground. Good.
We're doing the internal selection process.
Wait, what, are we on Mill Street? I'm sorry. I
No,
think.
Riverside.
Okay, all right, I was reading. Yeah, I got it.
You're reading ahead.
Don't read the middle.
Go ahead.
Don't read the middle.
We are in process, the internal committee is selecting from firms. We're using the MDOT master list to make that selection.
Okay, thank you. Because I was gonna say, I know doggone well we were right here